my behavior would not always add up to my words. And that's because I was deeply afraid of being alone. I was deeply afraid of not having friends. I was deeply afraid of how people saw me, of how people viewed me, of what they'd say about me. I was just afraid. Like, I didn't want to be that person that didn't have any friends. I didn't want to be that person that, sat by himself every day. And it took a toll on me, and I had to step back. What's good, everybody? It's your girl Amanda Speaks. I'm coming back to you with another video. What's good, Mandy Squad? So first of all, if you're new to my video, if you're new to my channel, you haven't heard about Amanda Speaks, you haven't heard about Mandy Squad, I know where you've been in, I know what's going on, but we're happy that you have made it here. We're happy that you are here and you're watching this video. And if you want to become a part of this amazing family, all you have to do is hit that subscribe button right here and hit the bell button beside it so you won't miss any further videos. So without further ado, let's get into this video. Guys, you're a little bit up close and personal because it's an up close and personal conversation we're gonna have today. On Wednesday I had put a poll on my Instagram. If you haven't been following me on my social media, you can click the link in my description. I mean, why wouldn't you want to follow me? I post good stuff. But I did a poll on Wednesday and I asked which topic you guys want to hear about, and you chose this one, which was I was ashamed of God. And first of all, let me just put it out there. When I say ashamed of God, I don't mean I denounced him. I don't mean that I didn't say that I was a Christian. I did. And I wasn't afraid to say that I was a Christian. I was just... But you'll hear more as we get into it. Sorry for scratching my nose. Like, my allergies acting up and it's just really not a pleasant time. But... what I will say though is when I say I'm ashamed of God, I was ashamed of God because I'm not now. I was ashamed of God. I meant that I wouldn't like to talk about biblical things in crowds. I wouldn't like to openly just talk about God with everybody because I was like, I wonder what this person going to say. I wonder what that person going to say. I wonder what my classmates or my friends going to say. Especially because I didn't read a lot. It was during that time where everybody was saying to you have to read the King James version. The King James version is the best version to read. But if we can be real and can be honest, no for we didn't understand the King James version. I know I did not understand King James version. It was very hard for me to read with all the thee and ye and so I was like, I'm confused. Right, so because of that, I didn't really read the Bible a lot. I didn't read it consistently. Usually just put on the Bible and a Sunday. I'd be the typical Christian where a Sunday morning I dust off of my Bible, and at that time I take out the Bible for read when we got to church. I would say, and the scripture reading is taken from. Yeah, that's the time that I'd be reading my Bible. So I was that typical Christian. When I just got saved, by the way, I've been saved for 9 years. This year will be 9 years. So I was saved at a very young age. But I was always on fire for God regardless. Like, I sent out this encouraging message, but I was very intimidated by people. Like, I was very gullible. I was very intimidated by people. I was afraid to, talk about the gospel because I didn't want anybody to challenge what I already believed. I didn't want anybody to say that, how do you know that this is really true and because again, I wasn't reading the word of God, so I wasn't really getting to know God. I didn't get to know him and who he was and what the Bible was all about and and so I'd kind of just shy away from those things. I'd shy away from talking about God in public spaces because when I say I was very intimidated by people, I mean I'd consider almost everything people said. So if you were saying that this is not right, or you just feel like you're coming to attack me or just trying to shove something down my throat, I'd always just shy away and I'd just crawl back into my little shell. I was friendly with people. I still kind of am, but I was friendly with people, but I was very, very shy at the same time, and I wasn't sure about who God was. I wasn't sure. I grew up in a Christian household. I grew up with Christian parents and Christian grandparents and stuff, but I still wasn't sure about who God was, and because I wasn't sure who God was, I wasn't sure about who I was. So that, impacted my self-esteem, and I just didn't see God as how I see God now. I didn't see God as a friend. I didn't see God as a father. It's like I saw God as this faraway being that I had to go down on my knees and pray to, and that's a whole different thing, because of how I was socialized and taught. They made it seem as though if I'm not on my knees, I'm gonna say, oh Heavenly Father, we thank you today, da 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 da. God wasn't hearing my prayers, and that's not how it works. Talking to God is literally just like talking to a friend, but I never know that at that time. So that used to hinder me from praying as well. I never wanted to pray in public because I'd always feel I had to be prim and proper and have all my T's and my I's crossed and dotted, because again, that's how we were socialized. And it made me feel as though if I wasn't, praying in a certain way or saying certain words, that God wouldn't hear my prayer. And it was just a whole lot of things. So in that instance, I was somewhat ashamed of God. I was somewhat ashamed of just declaring him publicly. If somebody walked up to me, however, and asked me, are you a Christian? I'd be like, yes. And sometimes it was so weird, because even when I wasn't doing anything, I wasn't praying, I wasn't singing any gospel song, or I wasn't doing this, I wasn't doing that, somebody would still come up to me and be like, are you a Christian? You look like a Christian. Different people have their version of what a Christian looks like. That's a whole different story. But people would walk up to me and be like, are you a Christian? I'm like, yeah. But again, because of how ashamed I was of just being public, like completely public, like talking about God anywhere and anywhere, talking about my testimony, da 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 da, and I tried to conform and try to fit in with people, and it was so hard because I knew I couldn't fit in, because any circle I went into, I was somewhat the odd one out. And it's not because I didn't have good people around me. Sometimes I did have good people around me. I know up to this day I have some people that I still talk to, some people that have been there for me, through what I consider some of my lowest moments. I've had people there with me, and they're good people. Some of them are really my good friends up to this day. But I'd still be the odd one out of the group, because I was just, and it's not to say, I'm just a called out person. We're all called out in our different areas, and we're all peculiar. However, I just didn't fit in because that's not where I was supposed to be. And I feel as though God was trying to tell me that, listen, the more I try to fit into this box, is the more I'm breaking myself. The box is not breaking. The crate is not breaking. I'm breaking myself because I'm forcing myself into something I was not called into. I'm forcing myself into something that either wasn't accepting me, or I was just not supposed to accept it. And then it brought in a whole different thing of condemnation versus conviction. Conviction is God's rule. Conviction is God telling you that this is wrong, and you shouldn't be doing this, and I'm trying to protect you from this. And it aligns with his word. Condemnation make you feel like, say, you are dirt, you are not worthy of God's grace, you're not worthy of talking to God. And condemnation majority of the times comes from people and the devil. Conviction comes from God, and conviction is godly wisdom, godly correction. Condemnation can start from a variety of things, but conviction is really from God, right? And I don't know about you, but I know I have a heavy conscience. And I'd always get condemnation and conviction confused. So that make it worse. I never want to talk about God in public. I never want to talk to my friend them like that about God. And I didn't want to be the first one to talk about God. And again, I didn't like when people challenge my belief. Because I knew I wasn't reading much of the word. I wasn't praying a lot. I wasn't reading a lot. I wasn't really getting godly advice or wisdom. I wasn't seeking out for that godly wisdom that I needed. So when people would come to me and be like, how do you believe in the Trinity, or how do you da-da-da, and stuff like that, I would always be like, and then worse, because I never have an answer, I'm just like, yo. And then it makes me feel bad, like I'm a bad Christian because I don't have the answer. So let me pause right there. If you don't have the answer, it's fine. We all don't know everything, and some things just can't be explained. I think sometimes we try to wrap our head around something so much that we're trying to find an explanation, but a lot of things can't be explained in God's kingdom. Like, God's thoughts are beyond us, that sometimes we genuinely can't understand certain things, we can't comprehend certain things. We just have to say, God help me to trust you and understand it in my own little way. You get me? Right? So because I wasn't really reading the word and I wasn't praying a lot, I felt very intimidated of people. I didn't really want to share the word of God because, like, yo, I don't want nobody to challenge what I believe, because I feel like if you're challenging, I'm going to start pondering and wondering if this is right and da da da. And I urge all my believers, even though, stand firm on what you believe. Stand firm on what God has promised you and what God has told you and the revelation that he's given to you. There's a reason why he gave you those revelations. There's a reason why you believe what you believe. And if it's wrong teaching, ask God to reveal it to you. Because people will come at you, and if you're not strong and you're not, firm in why you believe what you believe, they'll make you feel like everything you've ever learned is wrong. And sometimes they're the ones with the wrong teaching. So just pausing for that cause. Another reason why I would say that I was ashamed of God, really, is because different people had their perception or the stereotype of what a Christian should be like, how they should act, what they should wear, how they should speak. Also, some people just determine whether or not you're a Christian by just your hair, So, and I think our generation was like that ending point right there, because, again, sorry guys if I make these noises, my sinus, not even sinus, my allergies are really acting up and my nose itches and all stuff foolishness are going, so just bear with me, right? But I think it was the ending of that type of area where, they're coming out to the whole cream hair thing, or, you shouldn't process your hair, you should always in a long skirt. And I think that when we came in, that was kind of the ending of that era. So because it was the ending but also the beginning, there was some type of friction for me, because I'm like, I don't know where to fit in, because I don't fit in with the typical Christian stereotype, but at the same time I don't fit in with the unbeliever stereotype, you get me? So that was still some form of, I guess, as I said, conflict for me, and that made me shut up even more, because I wasn't reading the word, I wasn't praying as much, so I wasn't getting revelations from God, nor was I really understanding how his voice works and how he talks to me. From day one, I knew that I dreamt a lot, so I'd always look to dreams to tell me some stuff, but the dream never did have. Honestly, if I was not listening to God, I wouldn't understand a thing about it, right? And so I wasn't praying, I wasn't talking to God, I was only looking to God for one way to speak to me, and that's not how it works. Sometimes he speaks to you through visions, he speaks to you through dreams, he speaks to you through his word, through his own voice, his audible voice. He speaks to you through people, and I was not really aware of all these things, nor was I looking to be aware of all these things. And so I just climb up even more, because I didn't know enough, and because I didn't know enough, and I didn't feel as though I was good enough to talk about it anyway. And sometimes, even when God would put things into my spirit and put things into my heart to say or to do, I'd try to quench the spirit. Like when the Bible talk about don't quench the spirit, I let him try to quench the spirit and just try to hold on to it, because I'm like, I'm not doing this. And I mean, it was just so rough. It was just like a bag of conflicts and stuff like that. So a lot of these factors kind of played into why I just didn't want to talk about God a lot. I didn't want to, because I felt like I'd be left out. I was afraid of loneliness. I was afraid of being alone, being by myself, not having company. I was that type of person where I'd always want to be around people to feel good, but I was still that person that I can be surrounded by a bag of people and still feel alone. And that hit me when I reached, what was it? Honestly, probably like recently. Honestly, it's recently, because I really took the time to, and that's why I can share certain things with you guys, because I took the time to learn it myself. I took the time to understand who I am in God, and I started to read the word of God more and try to understand who he is and who I was in him, and just the things that he had for my life. And as a woman of God, just some of the things that I needed to understand about myself and about my calling. So before that, I just always wanted to be around people. I needed company, and if I didn't have company, I'd feel like a depressed person, and I'd honestly look depressed. You can ask like anybody who knew me, especially like in high school. If I was alone, I'd look like I'm sad. I look like I'm depressed. I look like something bothered me. I look like I'm going through a rough day. And God really had to send people to encourage me at different intervals. He had to teach me that it's okay to be by yourself, it does not mean that you're lonely. Being alone does not mean that you're lonely. They're two different things. And I was always the type of person to isolate. I'd never separate or just take away myself for a time. I'd want to isolate, and I'd always want to play the victim. I'd always want to feel as though it's other people's fault, and that's why they might treat me this way, when sometimes the problem was me. I mean, if for example I was a very moody person, so give me 5 minutes and I just switch instantly, like. And if you're in a bad mood and you pass your bad mood on to me, best believe even if you come out of your bad mood, I'm still in my bad mood. And it took a lot out of me. It took a lot of spending time with God for God to reveal certain things to me. And it's when I started to pray more. I started to change up what I listened to, who I talked to, and just what I fill my mind with, that things started to really change. My behavior would not always add up to my words, and that's because I was deeply afraid of being alone. I was deeply afraid of not having friends. I was deeply afraid of how people saw me, of how people viewed me, of what they'd say about me. I was just afraid. Like, I didn't want to be that person that didn't have any friends. I didn't want to be that person that sat by himself every day. And it took a toll on me, and I had to step back. This is also why I stress grace, because again, another reason why I was ashamed of God and not talking about him publicly is because I felt like every time I did something wrong, God didn't want to talk to me, or I wouldn't hear from God. Again, coming back to the whole conviction and condemnation thing, I felt like every time I did something wrong and every time I didn't live up to a standard, which sometimes it's not even God's standard, it's man's standard. You have to be very careful of that and ask God for discernment for that. I was so afraid of rejection from people that I let it pour over into God, and I felt as though God would reject me if I did anything wrong. But I stress grace because grace is not something you earn, because I felt like I had to do good works. I felt like, okay, I have to be kind to this person, and trust me, it wasn't an easy task because I was a very mean person. I'm not afraid to admit my faults and my weaknesses at this moment. Before, definitely. And that was a part of being ashamed of God, because I'm like, if I admit my faults, they're going to say, oh, but how can you be a Christian? Because people literally will make you feel as though being a Christian, you have to be perfect. And if you're baptized today, you have a perfect tomorrow, and that's not how it works. I can baptize today and tomorrow I cuss you out like nothing. And it's not because I didn't admit that I'm a Christian, not because I didn't confess with my mouth and believe that God is real and God is the savior of my life, and that I gave my life completely to him. But you have to also give people the grace that you're going to need later on. Give them time. And instead of condemning them and whatever, pray for them. Like, pray that their heart will be melted by God. Pray that they'll actually take the discipline from God and actually be a godly friend to them. Grace is something, it's a gift to you. God gave you grace. He gives you grace all the time. It doesn't matter how far you are, how bad you think you did, how wild you think you are. There's so many testimonies out there that says how much God has saved them, how much of a different person they are. And yes, it didn't happen overnight. No, it didn't happen in the split of a second. But God still changed the person, and it's a decision that you have to make. It was until I started doing those things, I started seeking God for myself and started surrounding myself with some godly people in my life, to be honest, that things started to really change. And that's why your community is really important. If you don't have godly people in your life, godly wisdom, godly advice, people who just pray for you, they might not literally say things to you, or they might not talk to you about certain things, but if you have people in your life that cover you literally in prayer, bless God for those people, because those people, God will tell those people some things that you don't even know that's going to happen in your life, and they pray, travailing for you, bawling on the floor, prostrate on the ground for you, and it's just to save your life. I think that's all I have for you guys, really. If you guys want to hear a part 2, if there's a part 2, which the part 2 I think would be prayer. So if you really want to hear about my struggles with prayer, just as I say, hashtag below prayer, and I got you guys. I hope this blessed somebody. I hope you could relate to some part of it. Again, my ashamed of God was not declaring that I was not a Christian. I would tell you that I'm a Christian. If you came and you asked me, yo, you're a Christian, blah blah, I'd be like, yeah, and stuff like that. But my journey as a Christian, I'd have to say, when I started to get serious about God, was probably this year. As bad as this year is, I actually started to get really serious about God in this year, and specifically in March. The truth is, we have our plans, but God orders our steps. And if we truly, truly want to live our best life, live for God. I can say, yeah, I go through struggles. Like, the Christian life is not a breeze. Yeah, I go through struggles, but guess what? The difference between, I guess, an unbeliever and a Christian for me at the moment, and what I'm talking about, is I have somebody to rely on. I have somebody that I can pray to and I can see things change. I can pray to somebody and I can see myself change. I can pray to somebody and realize that I'm weak but you're strong, and that's all I need to know. I pray to somebody that knows everything, that sees everything that even I don't see, that knows my beginning from my end, you know? And I think that's the beauty of it, because I can't rely on myself. If I rely on myself, I'm bound to fail. I'm bound for fail. I'm bound for bad, depressed, and everything. But if I believe and I trust in God, and I give him my weaknesses, I give him my failures, he will turn everything around for my good. And his plans are the best plans. So I hope that this really blessed somebody. I hope that you guys learned something. I hope that, you know, if you had a similar story, share it down in the comment section. I'd be happy to read it, happy to reply, and just happy to hear your experiences, because sometimes our stories can be so refreshing and so warm to let us know that, yo, I wasn't the only one going through this, and I was not the only one feeling this way, and I do have a community that understands. Remember that we're all about truth, transparency, and just being ourselves on this channel. So be kind to each other in the comment section, you know, be loving, and just encourage somebody below. So again, guys, this is all I have. If I have anything else to say on this topic, just follow me on my Instagram, because I do lives there occasionally. I said I was going to do it often, but it hasn't happened. School and everything and that. But if I plan to do like a part 2 or just anything else that I want to say about it, more than likely I'm going to be doing it on my Instagram. So just keep up with your girl, and hopefully she comes to you with something more good and stuff. So, and then you can be a part of the decision that I make sometimes for my YouTube when I put a post. Say, do you want to hear this or do you want to hear that? So, you know, just be more involved in your community and stuff like that. So again, if you're new to my channel, remember to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button so you don't miss any further video, and share with a friend, share with a fam. Help somebody be blessed, help somebody, you know, get through life a little easier. So without further ado, peace out, guys.